specialty or commodity, PET resin and PET film business. Let me explain you a little bit here. The end product growth is very, very high. You know, this is growing at a multiple of GDP. So what's the problem in this chain? And the problem in this chain is that upstream capacity expansion is not in line with what is downstream requirement is there. And that's why paraxylene is short, MEG is short. You saw that Indorama invested in MEG. This is a very strategic move because MEG is going to be very tight. In the United States, the shale gas is changing the dynamics of cost of production. The gas ethane in the United States is very cheap. Right now, the gas is $2.50 a million BTU. Ethane is about $5.50 to $6. The world's most of the MEG is produced quite a bit from naphtha-based, which is lightly linked to the crude oil. So the game of MEG is tight. MEG growth rate is about, the production is restricted. So MEG and paraxylene is restricting, and that's why the value chain, the major margin, is captured by this too. So our game plan is to go upstream with this acquisition of MEG, and certainly there will be opportunities to go further upstream into paraxylene. Let's talk a little bit about this value chain. It's very consumer staple. As you know, the IVL is not a petrochemical driven company. It's an end product strategy. Our key end user markets are apparels, home textiles, non-woven. You'll be surprised that in China, what sort of growth is happening. I was recently in China. The home textiles, the people, urbanization is driving tremendous growth. You will see that what growth consultants are projecting. So it's all consumer driven, what we are in. We are in PET, beverages, food, home care, and huge capacity which we have in polyester fiber. The Indorama strategy is very clear. Consumer products driven, the commodity fibers to make in low cost countries like Indonesia, in Thailand, and the specialty non-woven fibers in Western Europe. You may be aware with the acquisition of Fiber Vision and Trivera, we are 70% market share in the bicomponent fibers, which goes into diapers, which is basically Procter & Gamble and all these, they are the major customers. So if you see the polyester value chain, the basically PTA plant, MEG plant, you make polyester polymers, and then you make the end product fibers, PET resin and PET film. And that all goes into the consumer uses. If you look at the next slide, what is the historical growth in 2001 to 2011? Fiber grew by 7.1%, multiple of GDP. You will see in following slide that how much percentage. They are projecting a growth of 8.6%. Now this is with the base volume increasing, that 8.6% will be the growth of fiber. Why this is happening? Because polyester is the only fiber which is growing at present. Cotton is limited because of the land availability. Cotton is competing with other agricultural products. Wool and other viscose fibers are limited. And that's why you see the fiber is going to go by 8.6%. PET packaging is projected to grow to 8.6%. Again, very high because PET is replacing glass in the developing world. PET, in spite of 8.5% growth historically, which went because, the bottles have become very light. As you might see, the bottles have become, actually in the United States, is 10.5 gram, 600 ml bottle. So actually this growth in quantitative terms in historically has come even after lightweighting. So now the lightweighting has limited. You can't lightweight the bottle anymore. It becomes a packet. So now unit growth for even higher. So what we are expecting, the projected growth is still 8.6%. In the film, which is flexible packaging, the Polyplex is in this business, polyester film, and for the solar panels, this is going to grow 9.6%. So there is a very strong demand growth outlook for all the categories of fibers, PET and film. And it is expected to exceed the historical levels. This means base volume was lower, base volume has increased, and still the growth is going to be. So we are certainly, IVL is in a very strong industry, which is just growth oriented. The next slide further explain you as respect to other plastics. Polypropylene, as you can see, grew only 4.5% in last 10 years. 1.3 times the GDP. Polyester, 8.3%, 2.3 times GDP. Again, because of polyester is the common man fiber, PET is replacing very rapidly. Even high-density polyethylene is 1.1 times GDP. And nylon is 1.4 times, polystyrene is 0.4 times, PVC is 0.9 times GDP. So polyester is the most rapidly growing polymer, and it is not affected by the economic cycle. We saw in 2008 when the economic recession was there, we saw some drop in the demand, but overall it is very resilient to the economic cycles. So there is no doubt that polyester demand will continue to grow, and IVL very strongly poised as a global leader in the polyester business with the end product strategy. Let us little bit expand on this. Why the polyester is growing so much? Today, polyester fiber, the total world demand of fibers, if you take polyester, cotton, everything, is 79 million tons. Earlier, the polyester was much lower, only 20 million tons. But today, it has become 41 million tons, which is 52% of the fiber consumption of the world. And cotton cannot grow. Cotton, actually, if you see the cotton yield increased, there was a modified cotton which came in a few years back, and that's why, but you can see that 1.9% is the growth and 0.3% is the CAGR. So polyester is 7.3%. So there is no solution. The common, as the standard of living increases, the developing world further increase the demand, the middle income group comes in, the growth is going to remain very, very strong. PET is expected to continue to gain share against glass and metal. Again, you can see that 15-year CAGR for PET is 7.5%, while the others lag much behind. The flexible packaging, which is the next is 6.3%. The others like 3.9% is Tetra Pak and other flexibles. So PET further outpaces all others. So all the fiber side and PET, the growth is undisputed. Why this is happening? I think we have to understand further the drivers of the growth. Population growth, as you know, the world continues to grow, particularly in the developing world, the population is growing. The changing demographics leads to the greater demand. Urbanization, I think you can imagine what sort of urbanization is happening in the developing world like China and India. I mean, growing middle class, somebody told me in China, in 1.3 billion people, 360 million people are the middle class. That's much stronger than the US economy. Imagine, today China has emerged as the second largest economy in the world. What's going to happen in next? And there's no doubt about it that the domestic demand in China is rapidly growing. High income levels, as the wealth increases and upside purchasing power is emerging in the markets. Infrastructure development, with the increased level of living, and there's a lot of infrastructure development in terms of supermarkets, convenience stores, and access to the packaged foods. In India, you will be surprised. If you compare India and China, China domestic demand of PET is 3.5 million tons today, which is 2.8 kilos per capita. In the United States is 8 kilos. Can you imagine in India is how much? It's 0.6 kilos. So India is 1/5 because there's no supermarkets, there's no hypermarket. So India is today growing 20% per annum. Same as this Southeast Asia, Middle Eastern, Indonesia. As you know, IVL has taken a very strategic position in Indonesian market. Indonesia, large population, strong domestic market. IVL has emerged as the leader in Indonesia. With a new investment in polyester fiber, we have the leading position. PET, we acquired the plant from SK, and so we already have a leading position in Indonesia. So it gives you a strategic presence in the markets where the domestic demand is increasing. The health awareness, the poor quality of tap water in emerging countries, and that's why you see a lot of growth in the water business. Product innovation, new products are getting developed. Brand differentiation, that today brand owners are increasingly using packaging as a source of marketing. You can see new packaging coming up. Recently, just yesterday I got the news in Mexico, we are going to launch the extrusion blow molding, the handled bottle, as you saw with the Invest acquisition which we got. Similarly, in United States, we already launched now the juice, orange juice in the bottle. So this innovation is happening. The lifestyle change